Hello. So this video exists as an appendix of some sort for my live stream summarizing the Pacey and VTrash situation. If you're not familiar, the summary is that a man named Pacey manipulated or attempted to manipulate more than 20 women into sharing their private photos. A bunch of these women were vulnerable mentally, and all of his friends agree that he's a habitual liar. In the video, I go through all of the allegations in detail, published on Twitter, Twitch, or before the 25th of October. For the record, the video ends with my conclusion that I believe that Pacey did, in fact, manipulate those women maliciously. There were some thoughts that I left out of the video, mostly because it wasn't really relevant to the matter at hand, and because I wanted to focus on whether or not Pacey did something wrong. So, on with the show. One of the things that makes the Pacey story interesting was the presence of a conspiracy to cancel Pacey. It's basically undeniable that there was a conspiracy around VTrash streamers to cancel Pacey. Kyoharu, Revered, and Envy definitely started swapping notes sometime around PAX, and then either decided what to do together, or they decided that they'd each go out with their own takes in their own ways around the same time. The presence of a conspiracy is not a bad thing by itself, though. If Pacey really was a bad person who's been lying to people, you can argue it's actually the responsible thing to do to figure out the truth before going live. The conspiracy would only be a bad thing if Pacey was innocent and there was nothing sinister about his motives or actions. So in this case, yes, there was a conspiracy. They definitely colluded. It just didn't matter. Pacey's actions at no point rose to the level of criminal behavior. Because of the sexual nature of the allegations, it's natural to apply a legal lens to the investigation, especially because a lot of the victims are vulnerable females who are upset. You tend to look through the statements for anything that's actionable. The more you look, though, the more you realize that the victims never even claim that Pacey did anything illegal. So, no. He didn't strike anybody. He didn't touch people without consent. He didn't blackmail people. He didn't murder anybody. It wasn't until I relaxed my investigation below the junior detective legal standard that I realized what the victims are actually saying and what Pacey's actually accused of. He's just a massive shithead. But unfortunately, it's legal to be a shithead, so there you go. Basically, if you want to follow along at home and read through all of this yourself, if you pay more attention to the accusation of lying and non-sexual manipulation of truth, those are the more damning allegations that point to the fact he's a piece of shit. When things like this happen, it's normal for women in the audience to want advice or some tips on how to avoid this sort of thing. If you don't want advice, that's cool too. In that case, this message isn't for you. So firstly, one of the big things you can do for yourself is to understand if you're vulnerable to manipulation. The way Pacey's style of manipulation worked was to appear as the ideal, soft, non-threatening boyfriend in DMs and to turn it sexual as often as possible. This is effective if you're in a bad spot in your life. So if you find yourself homeless or down on your luck, or you have diagnoses like PTSD, BPD, gender dysphoria, or some major depression symptoms, then you're vulnerable to manipulation. Manipulators like Pacey, if they come into contact with you, will present themselves as your savior or the nice boy on the internet who can't hurt you. They'll spend sometimes years with you to build your trust, just to put you into a harem with other women that he's also using to get sexual gratification from. As a 1.5, if a guy's stringing you along and you suspect there might be girls on the side, you're within your rights to demand commitment. Pacey would often seduce girls to the point of sex friend or situationship and keep the relationship in limbo there. Whether it's the man down the street or the King of England, nobody has the right to keep you around for casual sex if that's not what you want. Secondly, the best thing you can do if someone makes you uncomfortable is to block them. No matter how big someone is, or how well respected in their community, or how kind or nice they seem, if someone makes you feel like shit, just remove them and leave their circle. Don't lose your dignity over Snapchat just because a boy sent you a meme. A lot of women would have avoided a lot of suffering if they had thought that they could walk away, so please empower yourself to do so. I understand that for someone like Pacey, when they're a little bit, they seem to have some sort of power over your career, it seems a little bit more difficult to do this, but honestly, 10 times out of 10, you're always better off finding your own way than letting these people have any control over you. Third, pay attention to whether or not your friends actually care about you, One of Pacey's big tells was that he didn't actually care about the people he was talking to. Care and attention can be shown in different ways, but there's an instinct you get after some time, after you talk to people. Eventually you'll know who your true friends are. And if anyone who doesn't care about you, well, if they don't care about if they don't care about your dog dying, then they don't get to DM you otherwise. Lastly, avoid gossips. So Pacey, by accounts, was a prolific gossip and used to build trust by quote unquote sharing his feelings about others privately, and these feelings are always negative. It's normal to talk to other people. It's normal to talk to other people about like people and events sometimes, but if someone gossips all the time, it's a sign they might not be a truthful person. Conversely, when things like this happen, it's normal for men in the audience to want advice or tips to avoid ending up like Pacey. What's the line between genuine care and manipulation? Does this mean we can't send sexy pics to girls anymore? Are women just going to blow up my shit randomly? Am I going to be a forever alone loser that can't into GF? Well, I have some bullet tips for guys too. Firstly, the biggest principle that you can honestly have in dealing with romantic or sexual intentions is transparency. It's absolutely wild, and you won't believe what people will accept if you're actually just honest about who you are and what you want. One of Pacey's main mistakes was not telling women, hey, I'm just playing around, I'm not here for a girlfriend, in the first few messages of flirting, and letting them decide if they want to continue or not. As a 1.5, don't tell women that you're going to marry them if you're not. They take that shit really seriously, and it makes you look really bad. Secondly, if you're too busy to keep up communication with someone, don't have the first message back after a month be a request for sexting. It comes off like you're just using that person for sex, and it's okay to be busy, but you're better off leading into sexting a bit more slowly than that. Also, if someone does seem cold or like they're unhappy with you, it's better to try and understand what behavior you did that led to that feeling. Pacey would often give his victims platitudes like, I would never do that, or that guy did all the wrong things, without understanding if his behavior was actually reflective of that. Third, don't let this stop you from talking to, DMing, or even sexting women. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Women like DMs and talking to people. They're not aliens. They like communicating and connecting, just the same as you do. Just understand that if a woman's not interested, leave her alone and say, have a nice day. Sow your seeds and let them grow where they may. Don't force a relationship if none exists. Lastly, don't treat women like they're free prostitutes or lie about your friends. I don't think this needs much embellishment, but women like connecting and finding romance, but they're not wired the same as you. They're not looking for it everywhere and all the time. So be respectful of women's boundaries when they present them. Now, this is the part of the video which is most likely to piss people off or get people angry at me. But I did want to put this in here because this reflects my feelings. Now, Kiharu, what the fuck were you thinking? No matter anything else, it is wildly inappropriate to sell merch while you're trying to cancel somebody. I understand that you wanted to stream, partly because your thoughts were scattered and your PTSD, but selling merch when you want to explain that you've been exploited only serves to sow doubt in an unaffiliated listener's mind. If you really have trouble keeping your thoughts together, and I believe that you do, and you have trouble making everything structured, like, why not collab with someone you trust to get through it? It would have been much better to listen to a Q&A or an interview format with the interviewer keeping you on track. Now, the reason you want a good victim statement is because in the worst case scenario that you publish something is that people won't believe you and they'll re-victimize you by calling you a liar. For your own safety, you have to make the statement as good and concise as possible. As well, I know it's cathartic to put emotions into the statement, but it's better overall if you can stick to what you're actually saying, what happened, without the anger. Otherwise, it comes off like your motives might be bitterness or scorn rather than genuine hurt. The last thing I'll say, and this is to all victims of Pacey, is that tonight you should put your hands together and say, thank God we're only talking about DMs and nudes over Snapchat. I know this sounds like callous or like I'm minimizing your pain, but Honestly, there are two ways to deal with every situation, and sometimes you just need to open your eyes to the broader picture of what could have happened to you. If Pacey were somebody worse, what could he have done to you? So suppose a house burns down and you see two people, one's crying and the other one's laughing. The crying person says, "Oh no, I lost all my stuff. My whole life is in the house." But the laughing person says, "Thank God I put that fire alarm in." Okay, so, a guy's seen your tits. It turns out he was a shithead. You can still wake up tomorrow and the next day, you're safe, you're fine. Take it as a lesson and don't fall for it again. Hello, Pacey. How are you? I saved the best to last. So, you've had a wild ride in 2024. New Twitch partner. You made a lot of cool friends. You started your own VTuber group. Started a huge Minecraft SMP. Had massive Discord server, big numbers, riding high, sexting with tons of girls. Everyone loves you. And all of a sudden, everyone's blowing up your shit. And now a stranger's made a video talking to you about your sex life. Welcome to fame. You made it. So other than my advice to men, which applies to you in broad strokes, there are a few things I wanted to say to you as well. Firstly, Pacey, I think you're a hypersexual. I know that hypersexuality is a word that gets thrown around a lot amongst you Zoomer kids, but I sincerely believe it applies to you. I'm not keen to diagnose you, but it's not healthy to be DMing that many women with your dick. I'll look up sadorism in Wikipedia. Second, and I think you've realized this, but a higher standard of behavior is expected from community leaders than others. When you're a side character, then it's sort of more acceptable to be like that horny guy, but when you're the big man of VTrash, members expect to be able to enjoy your content without getting asked for nudes all the time. You're famous. Let women come flirt with you. You don't have to force it. Third, when you believe everyone hates you and you start quietly spreading rumors about people being against you and being bad people, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. People will eventually cotton on, DM each other, share notes, and then you're cooked. This is basically what happened. If you want to be surrounded by love and positivity, you should spread love and positivity, not gossip and connivery. Fourth, and this one's probably a bit surprising, but in my opinion, it's safer to pay for it. Especially if you're a man with a lot to lose, when you pay for sexual services, you're paying for the discretion as well as the sex. If people in your community find out you pay online web girls, it's like an embarrassing meme. But if people find out you've been manipulating audience members for free nudes, well, you found out what happened. Fifth, it's sort of cool in one way that you were quiet while everyone else was having their say and having their voices heard. But the advice from larger creators is to just stream through the scandal. When I was making this video, I had nothing at all from your camp, so eventually it just led me to believe that you did the manipulation and it's all true. Finally, and this is the second part where people are going to be pissed off with me, honest to God, Pacey, you can probably come back. What you did was shitty, and for the last little while you've been acting like a little Leonardo DiCaprio. But in the grand scheme of things, just because you're a dickhead in 2024 in your early 20s doesn't really mean you can't grow better and just be better. If you are keen to repay your reputation, I think you need to apologize. Own that you've been a bad person and admit to what you've been doing. After that, you just need to take some actions to sort of genuinely change your behavior. And I did have some bullet points. So delete the free boob pic trap card. Like symbolically share your screen and show yourself actually deleting that stupid thing. Promise to let people know that you're after a casual thing if things get sexual in future. Apologize to victims individually if they come forward or ask for it. Please stop promising you'll marry people. That's a really bad idea. Stop backtalking people. Nobody likes that. That's like pretty shitty. And yeah, that's it from me.